forward. Is that good, Brad?
Yep.
All right. All right. Welcome, everyone, to this incredible session that's hosted here by the iConvo podcast, which Brad and I are both co-hosts of. And today this is day one, session one of a program that Brad Korn, who's been in real estate for 34 years and has consistently sold 100 homes over the last 25 years. And he's been teaching this to agents all over the country for many years. He's the author of The E-Myth for Real Estate Agents, co-authored by Michael Gerber, and he created this program. And basically, we're going to be going for 19 to 20 weeks here, where he's going to go chapter by chapter, piece by piece, showing you how to start your own relationship revolution, how to better work within your CRMs, your contact management, how to add people to it, which again, he and I and several other people that are on this call are members of another group that we are doing that client attraction or if you will, lead generation, but I like to refer to it as client generation. So we do that, but then you put them in a system. You need to know what you're going to do with that system moving forward. So Brad is, like I said, he's been an expert in real estate for many years. He's a professional speaker, trainer, and everything else. I am your co-host as well. I've been in real estate for 36 years, as well as, almost as long, about the same time as Brad. And I've also been in the personal development space for about 28 years with Tony Robbins. I've been a trainer for Tony for about 8 years and in leadership before that. So while Brad is going to be the one sharing the information, I'm going to fill in some blanks as to the psychology behind it, why people do say and act and react the way they do. We're going to have a bit of a mentoring / goal setting session so that we can all understand why it is that we're doing what we're doing, and have that be the motivation, not just the motivation, but we need the inspiration. So, and I'll just talk on that for a minute, and then I'll push over to Brad. Motivation and inspiration sound similar. They are similar, but they're very different. Motivation is external. So it's external. That means who you're around, the environment that you're in. So I like to say it this way: the further away in time and space you get from that source of motivation, the more that motivation weans off. I think it was Zig Ziglar that said motivation is like bathing. It doesn't last, so we recommend it daily, right? Well, the other side of that motivation is inspiration. Inspiration is an inside job. It's something that's pulling you towards that goal. It's your big why, right? It's that emotional intensity behind why it is you want it. You want what you want. You want the success you want. What is that? And if that why is strong enough, you can withstand just about any what, and the how will come because you're being drawn to that goal, and that you're not, so it's not pushing as hard. Being drawn and pulled is a little different, right? So we're going to have a little conversation about that as well. But with that said, I was making a little time here to see if we can get a few more people into the conversation, but I'm sure that people will be trickling in as we go. So with that said, I want to introduce the one, the only, Brad Korn from Kansas City, the #1 Kansas City Chiefs fan, by the way, I must say. But Brad,
well, until last year. So guys, here's what we're actually going to do on this very first session is I thought it might even be better since you might just being exposed. You might just be getting exposed to this for the first time. And we're going to actually go through what those 19 hours looks like. And Tony, this is where I think it'll work out great. We'll try to spend about 2 to 3 minutes per session. If you can keep me to 2 minutes, we'll get through it all. I'm just going to highlight what we do, what kind of stuff we cover in each session as you go through. You guys are going to get the 10,000 quick aerial flyover of building a business that would sell in real estate 100 homes a year. And like you said, I did do that for 20 consecutive years, well, more than 20 consecutive years. Turned the business over. They didn't follow the systems that I had created and ran and sold homes for 100 homes a year. Turned it over to somebody. It's just do what it says to do and we'll sell 100 homes a year. I've done it for 20 years and they didn't follow the system and they didn't do what it said to do. What's great about this is the business that I built, it took a year to even realize that we weren't doing 100 sales the next year, but we did 75. And it took one more year to realize that 75 deals had turned into 50 deals. And that was because the system wasn't running. So the cool thing about what I'm about to share with you guys is the system holds me accountable to do the right things to ensure there's 100 sales a year. So let me take you one step further. That happens. I end that partnership. I grab my business back and I start putting the system back on. So when I say system, it's basically campaigns and action plans inside my database that run everything from the time I list a house until it sells, from the time I meet somebody until they finally do business with me. All these campaigns are running on thousands of people in my database, right? I turned the database over because they were like, oh, we're going to manage this database for you and you can help us grow our business. Well, so what happened when I took that business over is I had to start putting those campaigns back on because they had ended and I wasn't top of mind with those people. Once that plan ended, they didn't hear from me anymore. So the system actually tells me how to stay in touch with people. And the biggest part that I think you'll get out of this is that it is adding the personal touch back into any system. And what I have found is that is the piece that most people are always missing. They don't have, and it's going to be hard to say this, but I want you to grasp it. They don't have the automated personal touch built into their systems. We naturally stay in touch with people. And the best way to think about it is if we got a client who's mad, they call us. We have to deal with the situation. We're in reactive mode. We put the fire out. We're good at what we do. What you don't do is talk to the 80% of the people that are having a good experience and don't have any problems showing up and they're not checking in. But that also is kind of like a good restaurant review and a bad restaurant review. How many times will you hear about and see about a bad restaurant review versus a great restaurant review? So that's what this does, is it brings the personal touch back into all your systems. And then, like I said, as we go through here, you're going to see that there's a lot of basic core business principles in here that you'll need to figure out along the way, which is why I love partnering up with Tony on this, because we do have to help you build a business. Now, let me make sure, is everybody seeing the actual screen that says session 1? So we're not going to go through all the PowerPoints today. We're just going to highlight on a couple of things. I want you to experience what we actually cover in the content. I'm trying to see if it's reacting here. Come on, baby. Move to the slide. Move to the slide. There we go. All right, so session 1, we're kind of setting up. Session 1, 2, and 3 are kind of like getting the plane off the ground. And in this session, we actually talk about, let me see if it's going to just do the advanced thing. All right. So I'm just going to go through here. We're going to run through all 19 sessions and just kind of tell you what the session objectives are and what kind of action items you would take away from each session. So like I said, you guys are getting kind of a quick overview of everything. But in the session 1, we talk about the importance of incorporating tasks to delivering great service to your clients, right? So how do you have whatever you're selling, and it's not just real estate, but whatever you're selling, from the time you get a customer or a client until they get your product, use your product, and come back and do business with you again or refer you people, how do you make that a seamless process all the way through? In the real estate, we list out the processes. Like, you're actually going to create the perfect, from the time I list the house until it sells, what's the perfect thing that I do every single time that delivers the most unbelievable client experience ever and gets the house sold the fastest for the most money, right? From the time I meet somebody, say like at an open house or they call on an ad, what is the perfect way to stay in touch with them until they finally convert into a client so that I don't lose them? It's on and on like that. From the time you have somebody come work with you, if you're leveraging yourself and you're bringing an agent into your team in the real estate business, or you're bringing in an assistant, there's a system for my assistants that anybody that works with me is on a follow-up plan. So it causes me to maybe, like, what would be ideal perfect is like, I know what's important to them. I know what their goals are from the job. I know what their goals are 5 years from now if they're still working with me. I know what's going on in their life I mean, how many people have people working with them? And I'm not talking about like you both come in and you sit down at the same desk together. In real estate agents are running everywhere. They've got an assistant working with them. It's like, do they know that they've got the mother-in-law coming in this weekend and they're stressed out and they got to get the house cleaned up and all this other stuff? So there's check-in points. Like when an assistant starts to work with me, I start a campaign, my employee campaign, that has me actually call them once a quarter, not in the office, just from my cell phone. And Lori's my assistant now, and it'd be a perfect example. It's like, hey, Lori, I'm just checking in on you. I know, like during the day, we're always doing contracts and stuff. I just wanted to be, I'm out of the office and I think about you all the time. You're a great assistant. We work well together. But I just wanted to check in on how the kid's doing. You know, sometimes I forget to stay in touch with that. But the system tells me to do that once a quarter, to call them outside of work. So those are the kind of things that we're going to talk about. What are your processes to make that happen? And then one of the things we do is, what are the obstacles that are going to stop that client experience from happening? So as I build these systems and these perfect systems in place, whenever I'm working with a client and there's something that puts a bump in the road. In real estate, I would say it could be something as simple as when you buy a house, that you have an earnest money check with your offer. When we find a house that you want to buy and you're going to buy it, you have to put earnest money with your offer to make you don't have to, but you have to if you want to be an earnest offer. And the more your earnest money is, the more earnest you are, the more attractive that is to a seller. Believe it or not, something that simple, if it does not pop up on the day after a contract has been accepted and says, did you get the earnest money? Right. And also from the time we start looking for a house until we find the house, that plan's running. And as that plan's running, they're getting an email or something in the mail that says, hey, I want to tell you what earnest money is. Earnest money is this thing that's going to make your offer earnest. We're going to ask you to make sure you have checks or money in your bank account when you find the house that you want to buy, because we're going to bring up earnest money. So that system is preparing that. So the first time that I went to a house and I said, okay, how much earnest money do you have? And the buyer was like, we haven't saved up any money yet. You know, this is a buyer who wants to buy a house, has no money. Anybody in real estate knows these people, right? So that had to be put into the system to make sure they have money in their account to put that earnest money. There's every little obstacle that you can think of that might knock your perfect system off track is what we help you figure out. All right, we're not going through all these slides today because this is where we help you work through that. In the first full week, we start working through what are those visions, what are those things that have to happen in your business to make sure that you deliver this unbelievable client experience. I'm just kind of letting you peek at a couple of these things, right? That we go through this in detail, and we do this for 19 hours. So this comes across like, what are the questions? How do you hold yourself accountable to make sure that you're delivering the most unbelievable client experience for your client? So we just take you through that whole process. And then once you go through that, so we've got the objectives of what we want to accomplish today. It's starting to realize that you're going to build a system of the perfect client system. And see, even here, we start talking about what are the roadblocks or the road bumps that can come up. 60% of agents don't survive in real estate. Why is that? Because they don't do anything consistent and persistent. So again, I didn't want to go through all these slides. They're kind of processing a little slow here. Obstacles to delivering perfect client customer experience, right? Just not having something that's consistent, persistent, deliverable every single time. I was telling Tony, and Tony, when I jump over to session 2, you could grab some comments in here while I swap over the slide. But one of the things we were talking about, my biggest fear when I finally understood how systems really need to run every aspect of everything, was I was worried that when I was selling 100 homes a year, that I was going to walk past one of my past clients in the grocery store that I sold a house to a year ago. Understand, selling 100 homes a year, it's like 8 a month. So am I going to remember somebody from 12 months ago, 99 sales ago, And could I possibly walk right past them in a grocery store and they had bought their dream home? They loved their house. In fact, while I was working with them, we had a great experience, but I didn't have a system to stay in touch with them and follow up with them. So there's a lot of people that you can keep track of 2 or 3 people a year. You're not going to have to worry about forgetting what they look like. But yeah, this was a great slide right here. It's like all the different systems that would go in place. If it's new construction, if it's resale, if it's an investor buying real estate. Again, as I say this, and if you're not in real estate, I want you to think about this in terms of your business. And you can also track me down if you need me to help you interpret that. But we do go through that. I have a lot of people that have taken this course. I've only taught it this formal course. This is the second time. You guys are the second ones to go through it. I took a real estate office through it, a team of about 12 people. I took them through the process for the first time, and that's when I knew this content is huge. Like, everybody can really use this stuff. So as we go through it, you guys are going to experience even the next level of that. Like, what's the follow-up behind it to help you stay on track? All right. So
it's probably important to say, though, that you have done this with individuals. This is the first time you're doing it on Zoom like this, but you have done it before over the years. So
no, let me tell you, I've taught this and coached this one-on-one. I've actually had over a dozen teams pay me $25,000 to come in for 3 days and set all these systems up and teach them what these systems, I mean, it's their system, but I showed them how to automate it all out and how to put all this stuff in there. So
yeah, I just wanted to add that in. I wanted to add that in because I don't want people to think this is your second time teaching this. And no, this is a proven system many times over. This is just the first time you're doing it on Zoom.
Yeah, well, it's the first time that I've done it in an organized manner with the content that was pulled out of everything that I've taught for 30 years and put into a format that people can follow. So I do want to say this too, real quick, on session 1. So we had those objectives where we're really talking about what is a raving fan, what is the best process for you to deliver your business in. But at the end of that session, you've got your action items that you're going to work on for that session. Let me find them here. Where'd they go? There we go. So like the action item that you would get from session 1, we're going to talk about, and this is why I wanted to do this today. One of the first things I talk about is building a master list of the people that are going to drive your business to double and triple your volume. And you have a list of people, and if you guys have heard me talk at all, you've heard me talk about the database. And if you have, in real estate, if you have a list of 1,000 people, right now, if you opened up your cell phone and looked at your cell phone contact records and you look at your Facebook friends list, those 2 alone, if you're even remotely kind of plugged in, which if you're a real estate agent and you're not a secret agent, you probably have more than 1,000 names between your Facebook friends list and your cell phone. You probably have 3, 4, 5,000 people in your cell phone. Think about this for a minute, though. This is what I want you to get from why this course is so important and how I can guarantee that every single agent has 100 sales that are happening. And if you mail to those 1,000 people every single month and you get returned mail back, you're going to see a lot of returned mail come back and realize just how many of those 100 sales you're missing. Like, you're going to get 80 returned pieces of mail where they moved, and you're going to probably have 10 sales if you're a typical agent. You're going to miss that many deals. So in this, we start building a master list from day 1. In fact, this piece rolls all the way through the whole 19 weeks. You are constantly adding to this master list. And here's the challenge. Before you even need all the systems that we're going to get to by week 5, week 7, week 9, week 12, when we start looking at very specific systems and building those out, you don't need those systems unless your phone's ringing with more business than you have right now. So we start with that on the core. And the master list is get all your list of all your people that are everywhere, whatever spreadsheet you got them in, wherever you got them in your emails, lead capture sites, old internet leads, I don't care what it is. You want to get all those names in one notebook, because we're going to be really on purpose with this layer that we're bringing back the personal touch to these people. And you can't bring the personal touch to 1,000 people at once. That's bulk marketing. When you're doing one-on-one relationship building, you got to do it one person at a time, or the goal will be 5 people a day. If you can
By the way,
connect, yeah,
what's the importance of writing those names down by hand in that notebook?
yep, great question. I got to get back to my share screen. How do I get back there so I can
We're
see?
still seeing it.
Oh,
We're
you're
still
still,
sharing.
are you seeing session 2?
Yes.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. Then that's working out really good. That tech part's working out good. Here's the importance of writing down the names, because when you try to do it from the list that you have, I'll give you a perfect example. I've coached top agents across the country. If you were to export everybody out of this database you hate, and you import them into this new, awesome, amazing AI-driven database that you probably haven't figured out how to use yet and haven't mastered that one either, and you just import your whole list in there, all you did was take a crappy follow-up system from an old system and put a crappy follow-up system into a new system. And when you think, just think in terms of bulk. Even if that database had an AI type follow-up thing and it starts doing some automatic follow-up for you, here's the other thing, is that out of that, let's just say a list of 1,000 people, would everybody say they probably know 1,000 people, or 1,000 people know them in their community, right? So I'm going to start with the easy number. Out of those 1,000 people, even if I exported them and imported them in this new, wow, amazing database that's going to do all this communication for me, if they're moving every 10 years, so if the average person moves every 5 to 10 years and you got 1,000 people, it's simple. Divide 1,000 by 10. That means maybe 10 people are moving every single year. Now I said year, so there's 12 months. So divide the 10 by 12. Now I've got one person out of those 1,000 people are moving every month, right? A month or two, right? They're moving about every month. So I have to market to all 1,000 people for the next 10 years to have 1,000 sales. I got to market to all 1,000 people every single month for the next 12 months to get 10 sales. You guys follow me here? So as you do this, you're going to start to capture 100% of them. And at 5 people a day, I'm coming back to the answer to your question, Tony. At 5 people a day, 5 days a week, that's 25 people a week. It's 100 people a month. It's 1,200 people a year. What you're going to find is if you have a list of 5,000 or 6,000 people and you divide that by 10, 6,000 people divided by 10 is 600 sales a year are happening. That will give you an insight to how much business you are missing, right? So here's why you write the names down. The reason why you write the names down is because your brain, and Tony can even speak more to this, your brain is connecting to that name. And when you I'm telling you, take your Facebook list and just scroll all the way to the bottom so that the page resets and refreshes until you get to the bottom. And if you're like me, you have 5,000 people in there. Those 5,000 names, when I'm writing them down, I can tell you that when I do this, I don't know who 4,950 of those names are without putting a little thought into it. And I can probably pull out another 50 if I sat there for a couple minutes and just thought about it. I can probably figure out who 100 of those names are. And what I'm talking to is what you guys are going to experience when you do this notebook for the first time. You will probably recognize about 100 to 200 names if you write down 1,000. The other 800 are going to make you think a little. And all you're doing is writing down the name. So now my brain goes, God, who's Jim Smith? I mean, how many Jim Smiths are there out there, right? But I just wrote it down. Now what I'm going to do is go back to that notebook every single day and spend 30 minutes, an hour, call this your lead gen time. Like, this is better to do this than sit there and cold call for an hour, because you're going to easily get back to that where you're not making cold calls anymore, because you're going to have a very organized list to work from, and it's going to turn into warm call time, and you'll never have cold call time again, ever, in the real estate industry. But as I go through that notebook, I just start and I go, okay, there's Jim Smith. So I pull up my phone, see if Jim's in there. Oh, there's his cell phone number. I'll write that down in the notebook. my brain and writing. It's kind of like taking notes and everything. If you've got AI taking notes for you in a webinar, let's pause right here for a minute. How many webinars have you been to now that you turned on AI and it gave you this great summary and you've implemented all that stuff? What the
Very,
heck?
very few. But listen, before you get too far away from it, I want to say two things.
Yeah.
Number one, I asked you, obviously, you know that I asked you that question with intention, right? Because when you physically write something down as opposed to just copy and paste means, by the way, copy and paste means nothing. You captured nothing. It was copy and paste. If you type it, you connect a little bit, but when you write it down, you're engaging you're engaging more senses. So you're seeing it, you're thinking about it, you're writing, it's physical. There's a connection that the myelin and all the connections in the brain kind of fire off. So you're going to remember and you're going to think, yeah, Jim Smith, who the hell is that guy? So now your mind's going to be, not in the forefront. Your subconscious is going to be looking for Jim Smith. And you may see him on Facebook and like, oh, there you go, that's Jim. The other thing that I was going to say is, going through that list of 5,000 people, I mean, listen, I went through it not long ago just because I had to clean up my list, and it took me like freaking 3 hours just to take 150 people off the list. So I actually probably know well over 1,000 people on that list. But the point is, when you're doing this type of follow-up, and Brad was saying it's no longer a cold call. Of course it's not. You know these people, even if it's just a social media connection. And the other thing that I would suggest, at least in the short term, so you don't drive yourself crazy, I've got 5,000 people, just on that one page, and many of them scattered throughout the world. So be smart about it. If you're going to be geographical, make sure that you're getting the people in your state or a state where you want to do some business, or you can refer business, because we can refer business around the world anyway. But for the here and now, I would kind of stick to your area, people that live in Missouri like Brad, or people that live in New Jersey like
Tony's kind of cutting out us a little bit. We're losing you.
Or California. Just stay kind of geographical so you don't lose yourself.
You might have a avalanche happening on your roof. So here's why I love that Tony's even going through this with us as a student of the course. We have to keep this so simple, or you're just going to continue to have lists that are all messed up. I'm going to challenge you to write down every single person's name everywhere, because as soon as you have to start dissecting and figuring out who's where, you can do that on step number 2. Once you get every name off of this list and on that list and on that list, and you get it all into one notebook, the process is to open that up, find addresses and phone numbers. So if I'm finding an address and a phone number and somebody shows up in Canada in my notebook, that's cool. I can focus on my geographical area, because every day, if you spent 30 minutes to an hour every day and you just get as many addresses and phone numbers written down. Notice I didn't say email. You do not need email to connect and become top of mind with somebody. You need to pick up the phone, they hear your voice, and you drop a note in the mail that says, it was great talking to you today. And I can tell you that the whole purpose for writing the names in the notebook has to do with the brain. The whole purpose for making the phone call and writing a handwritten note has to do with the brain. And that is the limbic part of the brain, is the defense mechanism that blocks everything. So what happens right now is if you send out a bunch of emails, and I mean, you could be giving away $1,000. You could send out an email that says, I'm giving away $1,000 today. Just pick up the phone and call me. And you could send that out to 1,000 people. I guarantee you will not have to have $1 million in the bank, because 1,000 people aren't going to call you for the $1,000. In fact, they deleted your email. They're on your email list, and you said you were giving away $1,000 and they didn't call you. How many people would actually call you? You guys get it, right? So from this notebook, if I focus on this every day, I start to get 100, 200, 300, 400 people where I've got names and addresses sitting in this notebook. Okay, the psychological part number 3. The longer those sit in your notebook and they're sitting there and you have the phone number and the address, it mentally starts driving you towards doing what matters most. Picking up the dang phone and calling them, right? So again, I went through this exact same thing, you guys. I'm as techie as they get. Technology was not getting me 100 sales a year. was not getting me connected. In fact, my first 6 months that I did exactly this process, the first 6 months, all I did was get the address, phone number, call, write notes, and get them in the database. Call, write notes, put them in the database. Call, write notes, put them in the database. In 6 months, what I developed was the habit of every day I got to put somebody new in the database. That was the first thing that needed to happen. Feed your database every day and then communicate with it systematically until, or cultivate until they close and do business with you. Because I did that for 6 months, I had no cultivation, no system to follow up. But until I was feeding the database every day, 5 people a day, for 6 months, 600 people that I called, wrote notes to with nothing else happening, my business put an extra $50,000 in my check account that I had never had before in real estate. Because this is why I tell you, if you just make the calls and write the note and you don't have any other system in place, you will double or triple your business. It's incredible what happens because they feel good when they get your note, and that's how they remember to call you. And not everybody's moving, but you're just working through the process. So the notebook, the name, gets that brain working. You connect it with the address and the phone number. And in that notebook, it's going to be spotty. Some people you don't have addresses for. Some people you don't have phone numbers for. Just keep going. And you're going to find those eventually if you ever get to them. So when Tony said, I know 1,000 people. Yeah. And I also know his list is 6,000 to 10,000 people long. There's 5,000 to 6,000 people on that list. He wouldn't remember where he met them. And he probably had a profound change in their life, but it didn't happen right in front of him. It happened when they got home. They applied one little thing that he taught them at a Tony Robbins event or whatever, and it changed their life. I get it all the time. It's like, I'll go to a conference. They'll be like, Brad, you changed my life. I'm like, I did? What did I do? It's like that one thing you said in that one class. All I did was start writing notes, and it was amazing what happened, right? I had a friend.
That's the beauty, by the way, I just want to point out, that's the beauty of doing these events and coming to these classes. All you need is 1 or 2 ideas from any event, even if it's a multi-day event, to change your life and change and pivot. And by the way, before it, I just want to point this out. Before, when Brad said, and I put an extra $50,000 in my checking account, in case that didn't excite you, I just want you guys to be aware that Brad's price point is between 220 and 280, right? So that 50,000, Romina, in New Jersey,
probably
where the average price
somewhere else,
the average price is between 700,000 and 800,000 these days, then that 50,000 number is going to become 150 real quick. So just to give you an idea, and then obviously you can scale that, because if Scott sells that many, he's in freaking San Francisco. Those houses are like $18 million for a freaking 2-bedroom apartment. So it all depends on where you're at. So I just wanted to throw that in for you as well.
Yeah. So what I can tell you is at the time I started doing this, I said it was like 30 years ago. I had been in real estate for 5 years. I was making $120,000 a year, and I was struggling. I mean, wouldn't say I felt like I was struggling, but nothing was consistent. I was the roller coaster real estate agent like everybody else. When I fed the database every single day for 6 months and wrote the notes, all of a sudden I hit 200,000, and I never went back down from that again. In fact, the roller coaster after 6 months started to disappear because I was setting up all these systems along the way. And here's what I figured out. This is what's cool about this course. The notebook is the key. The master list is your key. If you skip this step, and when we check back in 6 weeks from now and you haven't done it yet, you're going to realize you're still where you were sitting when we started today. So remember this day. Remember what your business looks like. Remember how much your phone is ringing. Because the only thing that will be different between it being the same or your phone's been ringing and you picked up a piece of business or two is that you did the master list and you called people every day and you wrote notes every day, right? And you're going to have to, the habit to build it to 5 a day is going to take a little while. But so that's one of the things that I have people start working on. And that's why I wanted to do this course first. Because there's not actually a slide. I don't have a slide in here about how important the master list is, because we're building the systems to be able to handle 100 sales a year, but you got to do the master list first. So that's why I want to do this. You're going to find addresses on everything. I'm going to give you some sources, because once you get the names written down, it's like, well, now where do I find their address? If you're a real estate agent, we have this really cool thing called a multiple listing service that most MLS systems have tax information attached to it. But if you don't have tax information attached to your MLS, you've got Google, you've got Facebook. You know, if you go to Facebook, so I open up my notebook today, I'm ready to go find addresses and phone numbers, and I see Jim Smith. So Jim Smith's kind of a bad example from a Facebook perspective because how many Jim Smiths are going to come up? But Facebook is a good example because it already knows if you're linked somewhere with Jim Smith. And so it's going to pop a Jim Smith up to the top. And I'm using that name, generic name, really as an example because it will say, Jim Smith, you have 3 mutual friends. So that's probably the Jim Smith that I'm looking for, right? And there's probably a million Jim Smiths on the planet. You're not always going to find everybody this way. You're going to go to Google. You're going to go, there's a great site called fastpeoplesearch.com. Fastpeoplesearch.com, you could put in either their phone number if you had that and do a reverse search, and you'll find all their old addresses and everything in there. And then I use that to go back to Facebook to see if it says what city they live in. Does that match up with the address here? I'll go to tax records and see if they're there, if they own their home. And Fast People Search matches the address, and Facebook says currently living in, and it's that address. Guess what I just got? Their address, right? So that's why the master list is important. So those are the assignments that we start working on in week 1. Week 2, and we're not going to get through all the weeks, obviously. This is good. I want to take you guys through this process. We'll probably pick this up and go through it on the next call. But explain the difference between strategic thinking, which is the broad scope of real estate when you're thinking strategies, versus business versus tactical. And in this whole E-Myth stuff, what we start breaking down is that the business is separate from you. In real estate, a lot of people think, I'm a realtor, I'm the business, I'm the one that has to talk to the people. What you have to do is separate yourself and bring the E-Myth into your real estate business. And you got to step back and look at it from the business level and say, here's what makes me so awesome and why people love working with me and why I do a great job of having people call me when they're ready to buy and sell. What is it about that makes them call you? Because right now you don't really even have the massive top of mind machine going with everybody, but you did have an impact with someone who called you and said, oh, I would only call you if I were selling. I know everybody gets that call. But now when you pull that down and you say, what is it in my business that made that happen, that made me awesome? And when you can document what that is, that becomes your business system. And then as you grow your business, you can create a bunch of mini yous because you got you documented in the system. And it's why I don't sell a system. I started this process where I would just give you the whole campaign and action plan for the time you list a house until it sells. But you know what? You do some wine thing every quarter that you pick up business from. That's not in my plan. Or you deliver a cup of chocolates with a balloon to their work. That was just an idea, a marketing idea somebody talked about, some real estate conference. So there's things where you're going to be able to put your fingerprint in there. But what the core system does have is when to check in with phone calls. See, what I figured out is if I listed a house and the market's hot and everything's going good and I've got a seller that's getting, good, consistent flow of traffic, at the time where I would carry 30 to 40 active listings at a time, I'm telling you, 20 of them were cranking. Sellers were happy. They were getting traffic. We're just waiting for their house to sell. It's a 30, 45, 60-day market. There was no follow-up to check in with them along the way to say, hey, how you guys doing? How you guys doing? And they had good constant traffic, but they were like, we just hated our pictures from the minute they went online. We thought those were ugly pictures. It's like, what are you talking about? Ugly pictures. You know what's in my system now? Send on the day we list their house, the next day it says, send them a copy of the MLS and ask if they like the pictures. That was so big with everyone. Like I literally had some clients say, well, I think our house would have sold faster if we'd had better pictures. I had to close that hole. So those are the road bumps that we bring to light when you're building these systems. So we start thinking about this like business and strategy. Shift from being a successful real estate agent that does a good job to actually turning that into more of a managing position. So I can tell you guys, when I sell 100 homes a year, I've sold 3,000 in my career, over 3,000 in my career. I can go out there and wing it and deliver pretty better service than anybody in my market. But do you know I'm actually an employee for whatever role I'm doing in my real estate business. Right now I'm a solo agent. So I am the role for almost everything, except I have a TC that does clean contracts up. But I go to the database system every single day and it tells me what I have to do today. So all I am is Brad Korn, the realtor. I just happen to be Brad Korn too, but I could be any agent and I go in and do what it says to do, and I'm going to deliver the Brad Korn level of service in real estate. This is, okay, I want to pause here for a second because I know we got coaches, we got other business people. Guys, this whole thing translates from a coaching system. If I had a coaching client paying me every month to coach them, what is the perfect thing that would happen that would take them to productivity and they would never want to stop paying me? When you figure out what that system is, that's your coaching system. I have my rental system, my whole rental system on my rentals from the time it reminds them to make their payment each month. It tells me when to change the furnace filters out. Everything. It's all automated, and the perfect tenant would be boom, 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 and then I line that all out.
And by the way, we can do this for agent attraction as well, is what we were talking about this morning on the call that we had, that Bill was on and Kevin and Ann were on. For agent attraction, we do the same thing. You just get your list of agents, the ones that you have the relationships with. You can fill that information in. You can, and again, you can always get information. Congratulations, you just closed on this house. You just got this listing. It was amazing. And you can still do that same thing. Use the same system for this. And I will attest, by the way, because I've had the opportunity to share an apartment with Brad for 5 days, 4 or 5 days. We were down at the EXP Con in Miami, and every day he had his envelopes out and he was writing the notes and making notes on his printed form, putting in the addresses by hand and sending them out every single day. That was incredibly impressive.
Yeah. So and honestly, this is just a layer to what you're currently doing. Whatever you're doing in your business, you keep doing. You're going to still make your calls. You're going to still do all that stuff. You're still going to, like in agent attraction, if you're attracting, you're going to bring them into whatever your system is. You're still going to do all that stuff. But what you're going to do is take 5 people out of that notebook, or you're just going to call through the notebook until you have 5 good connections, right? When you have those 5 good connections, you're immediately going to write a note, because during that conversation, you're just calling to say, hey, I was just thinking of you, want to check in, see how you're doing. Let them start talking, oh, family's good, blah, blah, blah. It's like, are you still in Kansas City? Don't you live over like on Acorn Street or something like that? And it's like, yeah, we're still there. Or no, we're not. We've bought and sold 6 houses since then. It's like, oh man, as a real estate agent, that's the worst conversation to have. But the point is that you're going to layer this piece into contact, and you get 5 of those, and you drop 5 notes and say, super excited you answered the phone. It was great to hear your voice. Glad things are going good. Now, I'm not going to write in the note, sounds awesome that you got this beautiful home that you bought without me. I mean, it's just, you're talking about their personality or something about them. And when you guys get a note like that and you open it up and it says, hey, it was great talking to you today, right there, you're just like, oh, man, that person's awesome, right? So,
and by the way, there's nothing wrong with saying congratulations on buying your new home, congratulations on changing on your new career choice in another office, even if they didn't join you. It's okay, because you're still going to be front of mind, like, okay, he wasn't pissed off that I didn't buy with him. So that's important. And Brad, I know we've only got about 11 minutes left. So rather than going through those, just give us what the next 6 sessions or the next 4 sessions on top of these are going to be like. Give us an overview so we can know what the road ahead, the forecast.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So on when I was sharing that, actually, let me just pause right there and see, what questions do you guys have? What's kind of coming to mind with just even this basic information that we've just tapped on? Does anybody have anything to add, questions to ask, anything like that?
No, I love it. Thank you. Because it's stuff that we have to do.
It is. And fortunately for me, I was pretty slow. And I just added people to my database for a while, right? Because I had tried everything else, everything there is under the sun, and done everything that people told me to do. And I just kept getting 2 and 3 sales off and on here and there. Nothing was consistent and predictable. And when I read the E-Myth, that's what it was. So like here, I want to give you an idea here on session 2, the actions that you would be working on is, oh my gosh, this sounds surprising. Continue to add to your master list. You should have 100 or more names and addresses in your list by now. So this would be a week into the session. Continue to add more names to your master list. So what list haven't you tapped into yet? Because we've only been in this for a week, and you're going to keep finding list here and list there. And are you now getting them all in the notebook? Because eventually, you know what you do? Once you get that, all those lists in there, you've got everybody in one place that you're going to use that to reconnect with them one-on-one. And it's going to be spread out over so much time, you won't even feel the pressure of this one-on-one, because I'm not going to ask you to call 100 people in one day. Your system, if you do this right, will never have you call 100 people in one day. And if it ever did get to that, then I've already talked to 99 of those people for 5 years or 10 years, and I don't have to talk to them every day, but the system won't get there, right? But you're going to continue to work on that. From the time you get every list in there, now it's every single person I meet every day. Either you now capture them in the database or you are putting them in the notebook. And I want to pause here because I'm talking to smart people. And you guys asked the question, what is the thing with writing the names in the notebook? The thing with writing the names in the notebook in the database is when you have that list to work from, now, no matter how techie you are or aren't, whether you like your database or don't, whether you're using a new database or using an old one, when I start feeding in 5 a day that I connected with and wrote the note, now they go in the database, and now I make sure I got them on a plan, or just like get into the habit of getting in the database, cleaning up their contact record. This is cleaning up the database. I'm going to black marker them out of the notebook. I'll never have them in this notebook again. But now, once I do that through this whole list in the notebook, and I've got my whole notebook blacked out, if you'll ever get to that in your lifetime, you won't, because I haven't yet. I've been working on it for 30 years. But once you got that whole blacked out, you are so in the habit of feeding your database every day. I don't have to tell you to feed your database every day. The 3 people you just met in the last 3 hours, when you went out, you got back, you put those 3 people in your database instantly and started them on a follow-up plan. So it's a training ground to feed the database every single day, every single day, every single day. And so it's like, I love what you said, Tony. You kind of made me think of like real estate agents and conferences. I have a system when I go to a conference, like I could care less if I bring my business card, because I'm getting everybody's business cards that I'm meeting, or if they don't have a business card, because we've gone so digital today, literally the second I get done talking to them and they're walking off, I've got something that I'm writing down their name, and we were at the elevator in the lobby, or we were outside the general session on Monday, or whatever. And I am going back, and my favorite thing to do at real estate conferences, because I know I'm talking to a lot of real estate agents here that have the model, the rev share model, to build a team of agents and help them do the same thing, right? I don't care if you're a local agent, you're listening to this. You do this with all your local agents, and you're going to have a network. I mean, we cooperate and work on deals. You're going to get deals accepted because you've done this and created a relationship with them. But it's like I go out and I will buy a postcard at whatever city we're in. I'll go to the tourist trap, closest tourist trap I can find, or on my way from the airport, and I'll just buy 40 or 50 postcards of Atlanta or Miami or whatever. And as I collect, my goal every day is every single realtor that I'm meeting, or like following Tony around at EXPCon, it's like we're walking into a group of people. I'm grabbing as many of those people's names off their badges and stuff, well, because we're talking and having a conversation, but I'm not going, hey, can I have your business card and get your address so I can follow up with you? No, I'm just writing the names down, and I've got these postcards waiting, and I'm processing those at the end of the day before we go out and have all of our fun. And they're going into my database on a follow-up plan. So, and that follow-up plan for those that were on our call this morning, the leadership team that we're with, the reason why I was asking for content is that's what my follow-up plan to agents are. Just content that like my notes from the conference. I will go back through the notes and create pieces from my notes so that I'm learning my notes and implementing the stuff that I wanted to do, but I'm also now sharing it out with agents, and that's coming from contribution. So I know we're covering a lot here, and this is fun because crap, we just went an hour and we're still at session 3, dude.
Right? That's what I was saying. I know Bill's got a question, so we'll get to him in a moment.
Yeah, bring it on.
I just want you to give us a title of the next 3. Right?
Yeah.
So session 2 is that. We'll go back one.
That was session 2. You should be looking
session 3 rather, but just even just go with the title. Don't go into the objectives. Otherwise we're not gonna have time because I unfortunately I have a call.
No, there's nothing to the title. It's just there's no titles here. It's an ongoing progression of your business and building systems and putting them in place. I don't really call them anything. It's just a process. So yeah, but see, so what we do here is as we're going through, you're building this master list. You're starting to make the calls. You're starting to write some notes. By week 3, week 4, week 5, somebody's going, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what happened. It's like, no, tell me. I know exactly what happened. I know everything you guys are going to say when you're going through the course, right? And you get to share it with everybody else, though. I'm, like Tony said this morning on another call, I'm not going to take that away from you. I love hearing it because it's so predictable. You will double or triple your business just if you get the names written down, find a phone number and address, and write the note when you talk to them on the phone. So you said Bill had a question.
Yeah, and by the way, when he says Facebook, that also means your cell phone, because your cell phone's got the people that you're absolutely connected with cell phone and email and everything else. So go through your cell phone first, then hit your Facebook. And if you're like me, I've got like 4,000 numbers on my phone. So that's why I said, be kind of selective because I'm going to be working with like 20,000 people. I'm going to be writing until next freaking Friday names in a book.
So I just really quick, like if I'm on my cell phone and I don't even remember who they are.
Yep.
What do I do?
Yep. So here's the funny thing about the brain. The second, and believe me, I've been through it, and all these on-purpose classes to get 14 sales in 7 weeks and calling 100 people, 20 people a day. The second your brain starts trying to decide where you should put them, you're going to get confused after 20 or 30 more names. So here's what I would say. I have no clue who they are, but they're in my phone. So that means they must have called me or I must have called them, right? And so if I can find, when I get to their name in the notebook, I'm telling you, if you just eliminate any roadblocks to stop you from getting the first list, when you're going back through and look for names and addresses, there's more connections going to happen this time. And you're actually going to, in your brain, be connecting now to who that person really is. Because as you go find a phone number and then you use Fast People Search and then you find the address and you find out they're in Blue Springs, and then all of a sudden you go to Facebook and you see that it says Blue Springs High School, 1985. It's like, oh, yeah, it's Jim from high school. Dang, how did I forget him? I got in so much trouble with him. Or I'm going to get it and go, they don't show up on Fast People Search. There is no Facebook for them. It was a spam caller that got in my phone somehow, whatever that might be. I'm not going to have an address and a phone number there. I'm just going to burn through that list, and you will have more addresses and phone numbers than you will probably be able to get to in the next 10 years.
Okay. And Annabelle, if you decide to send a message, don't send out, hey, just found your number in my phone. Who is this? Because I block and delete those people instantly. What you need to say, you can do that. Say, hey, this is Annabelle Pacheco from Dallas, Texas. I was going through my phone. I actually have your phone number in here. And I'm sorry to say that I replaced my phone. I lost some information. So who is this? But let them know who you are so that you're not some bullshit spammer that's just verifying if that number is real or not to stick you on yet another list. So just be careful. You can do it, but it's got to be handled gently.
I think I've said we must have come in contact at some point. I am in real estate, maybe an open house, maybe you called about a property.
I wouldn't even go that far. Too much information, I think. Just say,
really?
Annabelle Pacheco, I'm with eXp Realty. Dallas, Texas. We've obviously met somewhere, whether it was at a property or at an event somewhere. And I apologize, but don't have your name saved. Something happened. So if you, I'd like to stay connected with you, but I need a name to the phone number. But don't say.
It came from the apology letter from like either Buffini or Joe Stump. And you really are just saying, hey, this number was in my phone, and you're not, sometimes they won't even answer. So, hey, this number was in my phone. I have to apologize because I didn't tag your name to it. And I'm just trying to get my phone cleaned up and make sure I didn't lose contact with people I know. Right. So,
but tell them who you are. Otherwise, it's just another spam text.
Yep. No, well, you're not even texting. You got to pick up the phone.
Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, and I'm not texting. I'm talking.
Yeah, which is fine. But sometimes you may do a text, and I'll get that. I get those all the time. And if somebody puts their name, hey, this is Brad. Your number's in my phone, dude. I don't remember who it is. I'm like, hey, yeah, is this? Yeah. And I reconnected with someone 2 days ago, just like that. I hadn't spoken to the guy in 4 years.
Yep, I'm gonna ask you guys not to cheat and not text. You pick up the phone and dial it first. If you want to text after that, you can. Right. But see, at that point, you've already researched a phone number and address, so you've tied some more things together. So a text to a high school friend that I actually tried to call first, because there's two other things, and we'll end it on this, because this was the part that I wanted to make sure you guys got today more than anything, because as we start going through, we're going to keep talking about the list and the connections, and that's probably where most of you will be bringing your questions and stuff, is that if it was a guy from high school and I call him and it's definitely his voice on the voicemail, I would suggest leave him in there. But the next time I call, I know I tried once and he's still in my notebook. So he's not in the database, which means I haven't written him the note yet. The trigger, and somebody said this today, they said that what's the gate for the database? Like, you've got a lot of leads, but what is the gate to get them in the database before you start them on, say, like 8 touches in 8 weeks that's going to put you top of mind and take you to 100 sales a year? The only gate is I have to have talked to them so I can, and a two-way conversation is considered talking to them, right? If I connected in a conversation and I could write them a handwritten note without I, me, or my in it and make it about them, that was my gate. And you are on whatever I've always done until that happens. And when that happens, we move into the new follow-up plan that now will be 8 touches in 8 weeks. And so I know when people cheat, the system actually keeps us from cheating, and it also keeps us accountable to the 100 sales a year. Because if you do 5 a day, and if you write 5 notes, and if you put them in, and if you put those people on an 8x8, and you just do that, and then do everything it says, you will be double or triple your volume within 3 to 6 months. And you will already be seeing how this could actually grow into a 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 sale a year. If you go 6 months and your business is exactly the same and your phone's not ringing yet, I can tell you right now, you didn't do 5 a day, you didn't write 5 notes a day, and you cheated, and you texted 5 people a day all the way through, or emailed. And the first time that you get a call from somebody that says, hey, take me off your list, I'm not really buying or selling right now, I can tell you right there, you cheated. You did not get that person on the phone, and you did not write them a note. That's why they're asking to be removed. Anybody you do this with will not ask to be removed. They won't leave you a voicemail and say, you will never hear the words, take me off your list. You know what you'll hear? One time, maybe 2 times in 30 years. Hey, Brad, you don't have to mail me that stuff as often as you do, which it's only like once every 2 or 3 months they get something in the mail. It's like, you could save your postage for me. I'm going to use you when I'm doing anything with real estate.
That's
you
awesome.
Get that versus remove me from your list. So anyway.
So, Brad, I know we're already over time, but I want Bill to ask his question because he was patiently with his hand. So we'll wrap up with that.
Hey,
Bill,
awesome.
welcome, man. I'm glad you made it.
Thank you for the invitation. You guys actually, as you continued conversation, you answered a bunch of the questions. I'm thinking of this feeding. It's kind of like a sourdough recipe. You're just feeding it every day, kind of doing your thing. When you are feeding it, are you just feeding it out of your contacts, or are you out making new contacts in the community as well? How do you balance those two
Yep.
Well, the
Great
beauty of it,
question.
Bill, is through Jay's program and Funnel Pilot, you're getting 100 new leads that you're going to be able to put in here. So,
Yeah.
and as Brad said, you make the initial contact, you send the initial handwritten note, and then you put it into your automated system, and then you just do whatever the system tells you. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah, so here's the best way to answer your question, Bill. You're going to have new people coming in and you're going to be working on your old list. The way that the filter we're talking about right now is if a new person came in, and let's just say they came in through Funnel Pilot, I called them back, they answered the phone, they told me their life story, they automatically went on my top of mind awareness follow-up plan that would be, and see, I'm taking you in another step. That person is going to hear from me 8 times in the next 8 weeks, but it's going to be 2 emails, 2 texts, 2 phone calls, and the handwritten note. I mean, it's going to be different mediums spread out over the 8 weeks. So they might get an email at week 1 and an email at week 7. They might get something in the mail at week 2 and then one at week 4. They get a phone call at week 4 and week 8. And what that is Don Hobbs actually is the one that did the study that found out that if you hit people 8 times in 8 weeks, you are so top of mind that if you went in to anybody that's on this plan after 8 weeks and said, who is the realtor that sells the most houses in your market, they will actually say your name. He did this with a fictitious realtor. It was Don
Dude, that
Hobbs.
was so good.
Yeah.
So good.
In fact, he's even got he when I just went to Dallas and he's now doing the 8 by 8 by 8. And it's the 8 touches in 8 weeks that way. But the other 8 touches are what we naturally do just on social media, or it might be your blast stuff that's getting in front of that same person. So you're just, when you're posting a video every single day, you're getting your on purpose 8 stuff that's making you top of mind. But because you're doing that, they're actually seeing your Instagram blast video that you did, or following your TikTok, or I mean, it's the AI funny videos that I'm doing. Those people are like, when I see, I can't tell you how many people every single day I will bump into somebody that goes, oh my God, your videos are freaking hilarious. Like I cannot go anywhere at all in this community without one person a day coming up and saying that to me. And it's like, geez, criminy. It's like everywhere. But it's because they've been on this 8 by 8 and I'm top of mind and they're seeing that stuff out there. That's why it works. So, and it's like, really, my AI videos are really corny and dorky, but my stuff that goes into the mail to them is very like, I know what I'm doing when it comes to real estate. They know I'm the trusted source because just the AI by itself, I can tell you right now, 90% of the agents that see that go, oh, I would never do a video like that to get business. No, and I wouldn't either if I was relying on that for strangers to pick up the phone and call me to do business with me, right? Those people aren't even paying attention to my video. The people that know me, like me, trust me, are laughing at my videos. So anyway, yeah, great question, Bill. So it will become like when you really start realizing how many people you meet every day, another reason why you're using the notebook, that notebook is going to be your Achilles heel because you're going to want to have all of them in now, and you're going to want all of them to have your handwritten note, and you can't. There's no way. You can't create a relationship in a blast format. So just stick to working through it, a person at a time. The good news is 99% of them aren't doing business right now anyway, so you don't even need to worry about them until it's time. And you also are going to find out that 20% of them did business without you when you do finally connect with them. But that means you still got 80%.
I do find a hiccup at times where I'm seeing things over here I need to do, implement, make a list, and you carry that over, have these clients, these people that are interested, customers looking, make the list, and then sometimes the brain kind of goes dead at that point. It shuts off where, hey, I've made the list, I'm at peace, and then carrying through the next step sometimes kind of goes off into the Netherlands just because your brain got satisfied with making the list and organizing something.
Yeah, and so we're developing a new habit of focusing on connecting with 5 people a day, but the habit that we're building has now got a system behind it that it must be a handwritten note that can reference their conversation, not anything to do with you, get it focused back on them. Tony started out the call. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I heard that comment thrown out there. This is the care part and what happens. So let me bring you back to the brain thing again. What I was lucky enough is I heard this 8x8 and I understood it. But then my friend Rene Rodriguez, which is studies the brain intently, is talking about this limbic part of the brain, that handwritten note and that it's about them and no business card lets you through the gate of, let me give you the other side. I'm calling, being very nice with somebody I know, saying, hey, you know, I'm in real estate. Yeah, it's like, hey, I was just calling today to see if you know anybody that is thinking about buying or selling real estate or maybe getting into real estate, right? And they're going to say, what do they say 99.9% of the time?
Can't
Not
think of
right
anybody
now.
right now, but I'll let you know.
Not right now.
And then what happened? And Brad, what happens when you call again that same person next month?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. So the next thing
they don't pick you up.
If you know it, do you know anybody else who is? And they say 99% of the time, well, I can't think of anybody right now, right? Now, the next time I call them, because they're on my call list, they see your number and they say, oh, Bill's probably still wanting to know if I know anybody that's buying or selling real estate. And I don't know anybody, so they let it go to voicemail.
Yeah.
So
right.
Here's another part of this, Bill, is I'm going to keep doing that with my list and do what I do, right? But when they come across my notebook and I call and they don't answer the phone because, and again, if you did that on them a year ago, they've forgotten about that, right? But once I get that 5 connections, so I might dial 20 numbers to get 5 people to answer, to have 5 people not quickly get me off the phone. And I'm saying, hey, I apologize for not doing a better job of keeping in touch. Literally just calling today to catch up. That is it. I thought of you today, remembered how cool we was in high school, or how fun it was to work with you or co-opt with you, whatever it might be. And I just wanted to call and say, hey, see how you're doing, right? Now they get the note. Now, when your phone call comes in 4 weeks, the note has already got them. Like they have a good feeling. It's in the brain. They have this positive feeling attached to what they read in the note that came from you. And in their brain, it says, Bill's a cool, nice guy, right? And so they actually probably accidentally take your call. And because you haven't used that other script on them, they take the call like, Bill, they actually will be anxious to take your call more, guys, because I'll tell you exactly what you're going to hear. It's like, Bill, I got your note in the mail. Thank you so much. They got it. They got to answer the phone to tell you, oh my gosh, I got your note in the mail last week. It was awesome. And it's like, oh, well, that's great. I was just calling to say it was great catching up. So, all right, I'll see you later. Bye. Click. And so now think about that. Now
and
the
sometimes
game
you may
you're
get,
playing
and
is, they thought I was going to ask them about real estate, and I hung up the phone before they could ask me, and I could ask them about real estate.
That's right. And at some point, they're going to pick up the phone and they're going to say, by the way, Bill, I have somebody that's thinking about selling their home.
Dude,
but that'll come organically because when you call them multiple times and you send them notes, you ask them for nothing. You just add value first. Lead with value. Lead with caring and familiarity and relationship. Then that brings down the defenses and allows them to come to you instead of you go to them. But
Any
I am
other
going
part
to
of that
jump
question
off,
that you have, Bill?
No, I think that's good for today. We'll catch up more next week.
Yeah, so just to wrap it up here, what I will tell you is because they answered that call and wanted to tell you about the note and you hung up before you talked about real estate, I absolutely 100% guarantee you will not miss any business. Because like Tony said, if they are thinking about real estate or anything, they will actually bring that up. And this is where I tell people, you know, you call and go, hey, I just want to apologize. Didn't do a good job of keeping in touch. But they just happen to be the one that is planning on moving this month, right? And they say, well, that's really weird that you called me, Bill. Like we were just talking about moving. And that's where you don't need me to say, okay, Brad said, don't talk about real estate. No, you like just switch right over. Well, that's what I called you for. But that's only going to happen once in a great while. So yeah, have fun with this, you guys. That is the key core part that will make all this other stuff start to fall in place, and it'll make the other systems needed when your phone starts ringing.
So can I invite others? I have a group of ladies that I am working on. Can I invite them all to this?
Yes.
That's what I
Really?
said in the beginning. Invite anybody, send them the invitations out now. Invite as many people as
So
possible.
is this weekly?
Yes. Every
Yeah.
week this time, we're going to do this every week at the same time.
Okay,
Yep.
Hey,
fantastic.
Brad.
I
Sorry.
will invite do you guys have any like Instagram stuff that you're doing about this call?
Yes, actually, on Monday,
Uh-huh.
on Mondays at 11:30, we're gonna do a recap and a forecast. Recap of last week's event, forecast for next week. But we're also going to do it on Friday because the Iconvo, which you see the logo here, we're going to have Glenn Morshower in as a guest on Friday at 11 o'clock Eastern, and then at 12 o'clock Eastern, Brad, or when we're done with that, whether it be 12 o'clock, 12:15, Brad and I will come on again, and we'll also talk about the
So here's,
relationship
yeah,
revolution, what we're doing.
let me just recap what Tony said. On Mondays at half an hour earlier and on Fridays a half an hour earlier than when we started this, it's going to be live on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and it's general conversation. So what will drive Monday's conversation is what we're going to, like, I'll have the handout for that coming Wednesday content and we'll talk about it, right? And
Okay.
it'll just be casual conversation talking about the ideas that we'll be covering. Wednesday, we have the course. And then Friday, we do the same thing. We just talk about the stuff we just talked about and how that's relating in people's businesses. And it's even a little more interactive than the Monday. So
Okay.
those will be live on multiple streams where we'll make sure we figure out where we can really have it interactive too, because it's just conversational style. And then it's like going through the content on Wednesday and applying the stuff.
Yeah, and I'd love you guys to be there. Whether, I mean, obviously it's on StreamYard, but if you want to share, because we'd love you to be in the comments section, asking questions, commenting, saying, "Hey, was there last week? It was freaking awesome. You should come," whatever. Or we can just drop you a link and you can jump on for a few minutes, asking a question live and in person, and that's going to be like 20, 30 minutes on Monday and on Friday.
In fact, Tony, I'm just thinking right now, this may be the next 3 or 4 weeks. I think we keep this format going, show everybody what's in this material. Because I think, did you guys pick up some stuff that you could actually take back and implement like right now today?
Sure.
Are doing.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to go through all 19 hours in an overview at 3 or 4 chunks at a time until we get through it all. And then we'll formally start the course. So that way you guys have all heard it once. And now you're starting to see how it might fit into your business. And you can invite more people into it. They can jump in wherever, because we're not really going through a course that you have to do session 1 to do session 2 to do session 3. That's why they don't have titles, Tony.
So we're going to do the mile high view, and then we're going to get down and be more granular when we reset.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then are you going to charge, and what are you going to charge for the actual training?
Well,
Yeah,
no.
We'll see what interest we have when we get
Okay.
to that point, and you guys have seen the content and you've seen all that. I've got different formats
Okay.
of how that could work, whether it's a referral fee, whether it's pay monthly. I just want it to be the format that will help you get it into place. I don't want to just sell the course and have somebody sit through the course. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and the actual course itself is probably a $2,500 a month course, because it will make you $25,000 a month, especially if you're in Tony's market. Once you get these systems, well, and I won't even say once you get it going. If we did this and we go through the first 6 sessions and you made your master list and you're making calls and now you're to the 5 a day by the 6th week, you're already making more money. You've already seen an extra sale or 2 come in. And it's more like a partnership. It's like, would you pay $1,000 to make $10,000 today? Yeah. So would you pay $2,500 to make $25,000? Yeah. Well, this course will make you a $25,000 commission check in 1 month, but you got to get this stuff ramped up first. So anyway, that's why we decided to do it this way. Go over the material, get everybody kind of starting, like just kind of kickstarting in the water a little bit, testing the water and doing some things and go, oh my gosh, this stuff actually works. And then we get on purpose about it and it gets crazy. Yeah.
But don't get scared with the 2,500 price tag because that's not going to be it.
There's nothing set in stone. That's why I've been sharing this for 30 years and I don't have I'm not like selling courses instead of real estate. I'm going to get the content out to the people that will apply it. And I want 100 people selling 100 homes a year to show that it's not just Brad Korn doing this. It is the system.
Okay, so, yeah. Well, I'm gonna bring ladies to the call next Wednesday.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you guys. Thanks, Ed, for being here as well. Good to see you, brother.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, share it out.
Thanks for being here.
I will. I'm going to post it on my Instagram and Facebook. So
you can share. You can go on Brad's Facebook, on my Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and share the videos. Like we made a video before going live here. We made a video on Facebook, and so you can share those links as well.
Okay, cool. I just followed. Right. I just followed Brad on Instagram, so I'm going to do that right now on Facebook. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I got to jump. You guys got another podcast. Got to jump in
later.
Thank you.
Yeah.